Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, and welcome to the new 1631 Digital News Studio. You know, some people say, no news is good news. Well, I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com. Go to 1631digitalnews.com to get your latest news, sports, music, and entertainment. And maybe even listen to your favorite podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com.
Huddle Up with Gus is brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. Clients of Vegas Sports Advantage are winning big in 2021, and you can be a part of the winning too. As of June 1st, $100 bettors are up $3,700. $500 bettors are up $18,500, and $1,000 bettors are up $37,000, and $5,000 bettors are up $185,000. Become a client today by clicking the link in the description below and use promo code HUDDLEUP to take 25% off your package today, thanks to our partnership.
Welcome to what surely will be a doozy of a matchup right here, sports fans. Whether your game is on the gridiron, at the diamond, or on the links, we can only say, welcome to this week's Huddle Up with Gus. 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, passion for sports, has taken him on the field and behind the benches, playing for 7 NFL franchises with 114 TDs under his belt. Gus knows who the players are and how the games are won.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL quarterback, huh?
Okay, sports fans, from the decked out and plush 1631 digital studios, it's kickoff time. So snap your chin straps on and get ready to huddle up with Gus.
Strange variety, but again, a big play to Leslie.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, Gus Frerotte. Thanks for joining me today. I want to thank all of our great people that work with us on Huddle Up with Gus. Sounder FM, we appreciate them for hosting us on their platform. I want to thank Brian and Terry, my team, and we also want to thank Vegas Sports Betting. I think that's it, right, Brian? I can't remember, but
Vegas Sports Advantage.
Vegas Sports Advantage, right? They do betting. They really, if you want to increase your odds, trying to do some betting on teams, on players, especially coming up this fall, go to Vegas Sports Advantage, put my code in, Huddle Up, and, save some money, join the team, get all their info, and they're going to help you win some cash. So go to vegassportsadvantage.com. And today's guest, I did his show. I don't know if it was last week, a week before, but joining me today is a former Major League Baseball pitcher and now successful entrepreneur, and has a podcast called Too Tall Sports Podcast. So I'm assuming, Brett, that you're way too tall for most places, and that's why you called it that. But so joining me today is Brett Lorin, former Major League Baseball pitcher. How you doing, Brett?
Good. Thank you for having me on, Gus. I appreciate it. Glad I could do your show now that you're nice enough to do mine, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, so tell me, what's too tall? Like, where did you come up with that name?
Yeah, I'm 6'7", so, just general stuff that you can't really fit into clothes in the stores. You can't really buy shoes unless you buy them online now, cars and, flying in planes. So it's a tough life for us tall people sometimes.
Yeah, what is that, a 17 shoe?
15. So I'm not too crazy, yeah.
No, you're not like that kid, like you go in and say, I can't find any shoes, and then Shaq comes in and buys you some shoes.
I wish I could meet him so he could do that.
I love those stories. He's always somewhere buying people's stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, he's done a lot of like charitable stuff. It sounds like it's cool.
But he's like you too, where he's a big franchisee guy, right? Aren't you part of franchisee? You came out. You were Jimmy John's and something else.
Yeah. So after my baseball career, I just kind of had like the entrepreneurial mindset, and I thought I wanted to be a franchisee. So out here in Southern California, my cousin and I, we both got into the franchising world and got a Jimmy John's in one store. And the plan was to do multiple and, have a bunch of locations, but it was the toughest thing I've ever done for sure. So owning a store and running it like owner operator, it's a whole different ball game. So it was tough.
Yeah. I helped my buddy through the pandemic at his restaurant. and I kind of ran the expo line, and just because I wanted to experience it, right? He was the cook. My kids were out front running the door and doing all the Grubhub and everything. And it's not just doing the food. It's the cleaning. It's the prep. It's all that stuff. It's crazy.
It is. And you're hiring 18 to 22-year-old kids to run the show. Like, you hope they wear the right uniform. You hope they show up. You're not their first priority, and they're not going to care as much as you will. At least, most of them, it's a job, right? It's a first job for a lot of kids. So you're constantly training, and all those rules that you're talking about, and it's just hard to make money in a lunchtime business only. It's really not like a dinner business. So it's just hard.
Did you find, when you were trying to hire kids, did you find that kids that played sports were a little more amenable, listened a little better, things like that?
I actually found that a lot of our employees were women. Like, they at that age, they care more. They're more on it. Like, they're just a little bit cleaner with their process. You get those college age guys, like, they don't care. It's just way
more mature is what you're saying.
Way more mature at their age. Yeah.
yeah. That's all. Yeah. I could see that. So you mentioned Southern California. That's where you grew up, correct?
Yeah.
What's it like growing up in Southern California? Because I grew up in the Northeast. I played baseball. Every spring was freezing. The bats were cold. We're pitching indoors till like the mud was gone. We didn't have turf fields back when I played, right? So I can't imagine what it was like to be able to go out the first day of baseball and just throw a real ball.
Yeah, I mean, you get to play everything year round. So I think that's one benefit. My mom's actually from New York, and my dad's from out here. So luckily, she decided to.
They chose to go to California.
I didn't have to grow up in Long Island or Staten Island or one of those. I got to grow up out here. So it's great. Like I said, you can play everything all year round. So you get exposed to a lot more sports just more often. There's a lot more available, and there's just a lot of stuff to do. So it's great. The weather's always great. Like, even during my career, I always thought I would come back here because it's just hard to beat. So,
it is hard to beat. But, it's kind of like for me, if I would have tried to go to California, living in the Northeast all the time, it would have been difficult because everybody I know is back here, right? So I understand that. So growing up, did you grow up in a pretty big neighborhood? Was it a small area? Or tell me about your area where you grew up.
Yeah, it's big, planned communities with cul-de-sacs and, HOA, all that stuff. So it's just big community, lots of sports going on. And it's kind of, there's just so much stuff going on. Like, you got the beach. If you're basically an hour or two away from any type of anything, like the mountains, the desert, if you want to go out there, going to, people like the river. So you drive 5 hours to, the Arizona-California border if you want to do that. There's a lot of stuff you can do.
So when you were growing up, though, because for me growing up, I, get on your bike, go to your buddy's house, let's go play something. When you grew up in your neighborhood, was that a lot of it? Like, hey, let's just go to get our buddies, or was most of it planned? Like a lot of things, sports today, everything is, hey, we got to have a coach. It's all time. You know what I mean? But when I grew up, we just went and called our buddies and picked up the old dial phone and said, let's go play today. We're going to meet at the field at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Same for me. Obviously I played a lot of organized sports too. And I played everything. I mean, I did soccer, did baseball, basketball. And I did a lot of stuff. Never played organized football, but we'd still just, call each other and get the guys together, play over the line and stuff, just going to the field and doing this. I'm old school too in that way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you said you're 6'7".
Yeah.
When did that growth spurt hit you?
I would say in between my sophomore and junior year of high school. I went from 6'2", 6'3" to 6'7". So then by senior year, I kind of I didn't really get my, man strength until I was 18. I wasn't a fully grown at freshman year. So once I became a senior, then I filled out a little bit. And so I was a much better athlete once I became a senior in high school.
Did you have some of those growing pains? Because I grew between 8th and 9th grade. I'm 6'4". And so that my whole 9th grade year, they called Osgood Slaughter. My knees were just killing me the whole year. I remember icing them, wrapping them. It didn't matter what I did. Nothing helped them.
Yeah, my sister actually had that. She was a volleyball player just in high school, didn't play college or anything, but she had that Osgood Slaughters. I never had that, luckily, but I think it was just more like just learning how your body works and, long limbs and figuring out how to, have like body control and all those things. You just don't really get that till you get a sense of like how big you are.
So did you play volleyball?
No, I mean, just for fun. Like we just go to the beach and play, which is also great. Another California benefit. You can just go to the beach and play volleyball. So
being tall, I figured you could have been a good – because volleyball is pretty popular in California.
It's very popular. The only thing – I think it's the same spring season as baseball. So it was almost I would not substitute volleyball for baseball. I was always thinking like, what can I do in college? And I just didn't see myself as like a college volleyball player. So
I had a really good friend who grew up in L.A. His name was Danny Farmer. And Danny played volleyball and football because obviously what you said, they were different seasons. And he played at UCLA.
Yeah, I was just saying, I remember him.
Yeah, and he was like the spike guy. Like Danny was like 6'2". He was a receiver, but he could jump out of the building. It's crazy. But I know he always said that volleyball was very popular out in California.
Was he there with like Cade McNown at UCLA?
Yeah. So he's a good buddy of mine. He still lives out there.
Okay, nice.
But so you're playing multiple sports growing up. When you get to high school, when did that switch say, okay, I'm just going to play one sport. I'm going to concentrate on what I love to do?
Basketball is my favorite sport. So I played both all 4 years. I didn't want to commit. I didn't want to do like baseball year round. I probably would have gotten burnt out. Like it's not.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's not as fun as basketball is. And I still thought like career is probably baseball, but I knew after my senior year of high school that basketball was going to be done. So I wanted to play them both as long as I could. And I did. And the coaches, obviously they want you to pick one, of course, because they want to, build around you all year round and stuff. But I stayed with both because I wanted to enjoy it. So I luckily played both all 4 years.
Yeah. So were you like the tallest guy on your basketball team?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So you're the center.
Yeah.
That had to be, being 6'7", that had to be a pretty hard choice not to go play basketball in college.
Yeah. The thing was, obviously I'm not as athletic as probably the guys that are playing D1. So I think I had a couple like D2 offers possibly, but I just I don't know, I could go play D1 baseball or play D2 basketball. Like I was thinking long-term, like, okay, I can go 4 years for basketball and that's probably it. Or I can go play baseball and maybe got a chance to get drafted. So I kind of just had that long-term mindset of like, which one do I have the best career path in? So I chose baseball.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I had the same thing where football was all D1 scholarships and baseball was all D2 for me. Right. Yeah. And so D2 wasn't much scholarship money. My parents weren't paying anything. Right. So I chose football just because I was going to get a scholarship. I didn't think as far ahead as you did. I just knew I loved to play the game and I was going to go to Tulsa and just enjoy my time. Yeah. And, let the cards fall as they may. So you make your decision to go to college. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I didn't have any real scholarship offers for baseball. So it was kind of a gamble, but I was like a recruited walk-on at University of Arizona. So I decided to go there. I didn't want to go the JC route for baseball. I just figured I'd rather go to a big school. It's far enough away in Arizona. It's about, Tucson's about 7-hour drive from Southern California. So, there were no guarantees. And there were a lot of scholarship guys there that were playing ahead of me. So, I don't know how far down we want me to go, but
go for it. Yeah.
Just picking U of A, I redshirted my first year. So I didn't play at all, barely pitched my second year. So I loved going to school there. It was a lot of fun, but I kind of was like, all right, everyone that's coming in my class, my freshman year, is coming back as a junior on scholarship. I got to make a decision here. So that's when I decided to go to Long Beach State and transfer to play baseball there.
Yeah. So obviously it's opportunity. You want to be able to play. You want to go somewhere where you can get out on the field, no matter what field it is. I felt the same way, but it's hard work. It's competition. And usually if coaches have a scholarship guy and a non-scholarship guy, we know who they usually pick.
Right.
Even if your stats are better.
Right. And exactly. So my sophomore year, I threw a total of 9 innings. So it's just like, I'm not one of their guys, and that's okay. That happens in sports sometimes, you don't realize it till you get there. And as I'm sure with coaches, a lot of these big programs will over recruit. So you got lots of guys trying to make like a little amount of spots. And it's just like, if you're not on scholarship, it's just not the cards aren't in your favor. You have to outperform so much that now you become a scholarship guy. It's hard.
So let me ask you, I've always wanted to ask, now you pitched in college. Obviously you go to Long Beach State and pitch. Yeah. Do you get stronger by pitching in games, or can you be as strong as you can be, but just by practice? You know what I mean? Like in football, a lot of guys can go throw 7-on-7. A lot of guys can be good in practice, but the games, it's another story. How do you feel about baseball? Is that comparable at all?
I think it's probably the same. It's when like 7-on-7 would be like me throwing a bullpen a couple days before my start. Like you're just kind of refining your skills because you don't really know how those pitches will play in a bullpen session. You have to see how the hitters react when you're in the game. That's when you really get the sense of, okay, my stuff works or my stuff doesn't work. So I think totally agree with you. The game will tell you like where you're at. So.
Yeah, and then I think it's the competitive side too, right? You can pitch a bullpen session and kind of be there, but then when the game's on the line, you got a guy on first, and it's really, it's kind of when the, oil meets the water. Is it going to mix? Is it going to go apart? Like what's going to happen? It really puts everything on the line, and I've seen so many guys like that. So tell me like your first experience where you had a lot of pressure on you when you were pitching.
In college, you're saying?
Yes, yeah.
So actually, when I was at U of A, we played against a stacked Arizona State team, and I didn't do very well. Like I think I walked the bases loaded, gave up a couple hits. Like it was not good, and that was the first time I was like, wow, I'm going against first rounders, probably a few first rounders here. So that was like my first real experience into it. But then when I transferred to Long Beach, it was more like my mindset was different. It was more of like this is like a business decision, right? I'm still in college having a good time, but it was more about this is my junior year of school, redshirt sophomore. I got a chance to get drafted. I just need to get some exposure. And so when I started that year, I was like a fringe middle reliever basically. And then as the season progressed, my role got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I became a starter and ended up pitching in a playoff game in a regional. So you never know when you start the year where you're going to end up as far as your role is concerned. So you just kind of have to believe in your stuff and work hard to become one of the guys, like I was saying earlier.
Do you think, like, obviously baseball is different than football. Football, we have college and the pros. Baseball, you have college, minor leagues, and then the pros. Yeah. And you get an opportunity to grow even more in the minor leagues. Do you think it's an advantage for guys to go to college before they try to make the pros in baseball?
100%. I usually tell people, like, if you're a high school draft pick, if you don't get like, I don't know, at least 500,000 and up, like even I would say $1 million, because you can't really substitute those 3 years of college before you get drafted. And I just think the maturity standpoint, you got 18-year-old kids haven't been away from home yet, and they're expected to play pro ball and perform in the middle of nowhere. You got, the foreign or Latin players coming in. They've never been exposed to really any other cultures before. Like, it's a lot to ask of a high school kid to all of a sudden go from high school to you're playing against college, to guys in their 20s now. So yeah, I think there's just a maturity factor that you can't substitute without going to college. So if you get a lot of money, great. You might not see that again, but I feel like if you're good enough, you'll get drafted again in college.
Yeah. I feel like college for me was my learning curve, like not with just sports, but just life in general.
Yes.
How to grow up, how to kind of be on your own, how to relate to people from different backgrounds.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and then I'm in Oklahoma, and I'm with people from Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, like people from all kind of poor, rich, it didn't matter.
Right.
But I never had that in high school. Like everybody was kind of the same in my high school. So you got to go and learn. And I couldn't imagine being 18 and saying, oh, God, this is a job. This is my career on the line right now. Like, and you don't even know how to write a check yet.
You probably haven't done your own laundry yet either.
Yeah, right.
That's why exactly. And there's a lot of high school burnouts that get drafted and they're there for 2 or 3 years and they just can't hang. They're probably great players. They're just not ready for pro ball yet. It's too big of a jump for a lot of high school kids. So it's why it's a crapshoot in the draft. Like a lot of these, they just had the draft the other day. Like, they're taking these raw high school kids over a proven commodity in college that's ready to contribute. It's total crapshoot.
Yeah, I was kind of happy with the Pirates' first pick. They took a catcher, Henry Davis, out of Louisville.
Oh, that's right. High school catcher, right?
No, I think he was college.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, I think he was college. He was the best hitter in college baseball or something like that.
Yeah.
Which we could use some of that, but I mean, I always hope for pitching because I always think that pitching wins you the big games, right?
Sure.
That keeps the score down.
Yeah.
Maybe not now with all the sticky stuff not available like it was. Did you ever use the whatever it was, pine tar?
Right. A lot of I could go off on this topic forever. The most like the unwritten accepted way was this like spraying sunscreen and then the rosin bag that gets you like the sticky stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people used it. Like I never really used it. I didn't need that. I didn't like the feeling of it. So I just didn't do it. But it was kind of like a widely known thing. And all of a sudden nobody can hit this year and they take it away. So that's the biggest problem with baseball is some cheating is allowed until it's too much and then it's not allowed. So it's always been like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I always felt like guys who have smaller hands, even in baseball, guys with big hands, probably you're 6'7", you're bigger, you got big hands, you can grab the baseball a little easier.
Right.
Like guys that had smaller hands in football, man, they were so particular about how the football felt, and we'd have to rub it down, do all that stuff because, you want that grip. That grip means everything on how you spin it. And I'm sure baseball is the same way.
Right. And I was thinking with football, like I watched like Teddy Bridgewater wears two gloves, or Big Ben wears a glove sometimes, maybe on his non-throwing hand, but like guys are like trying it. So what's the difference between a quarterback wearing a glove to throw to get a better grip or receivers putting sticky stuff on their gloves? Like, why do hitters get to have pine tar in their bat? Because baseball's hard and they want to help them a little bit.
Yeah. Baseball is very hard.
Yeah.
I've stood in there against a pro pitcher once and said, don't ever want to do that again.
It looks not, I mean, it's hard on TV, but when you get up there and you're getting 95 plus right at you, like good luck.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When Chapman was playing for the Reds, I'd watch the Pirates all the time and he's putting them in there at 103. It's like, I don't even know how you hit on a lefty too.
Down this way.
Oh my gosh. It's just like Randy Johnson when he pitched.
Yeah. Because
he was like your height, right?
Yeah, I think he was 6'10". Oh, so even bigger than me and throwing upper 90s. It was unhittable.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't, they're throwing a slider or a curve and it looks like it's coming right for your head. You're getting out of the way. Now baseball is great. I mean, I've played it my whole life. I love it and I can see your enjoyment out of it. But tell me, because when you're in high school, you get to play, like you get to be a pitcher, but you can play all the other positions too. And then all of a sudden you get to college and you're a very singular position. Was that a big change for you?
No, because I couldn't hit, so I was okay with it. It was fine. I became a pitcher only my senior year of high school. I was fine with it. Yeah.
You were just fine with pitching. Yeah, I played the hot corner and pitched and played outfield. I loved just being out there, right?
Yeah, I love playing. It was just like, all right, there's really no point for me to be out there, so I'll just pitch only.
So who taught you kind of how to pitch, like how to throw? Was it your dad, or was it did you just have a coach when you were young?
Yeah, my dad definitely, but you might remember this name, played for the Angels and the Yankees, Mike Witt. He threw a perfect game for the Angels, I think in like 86 or something like that.
Right.
So his son was my age, and he was my little league coach. So at 12 years old, he's the one who taught me how to throw a curveball. He taught just like mechanics at a young age. And so then from there on, I got pitching coaches over the years. But Mike Witt really helped me as a young kid, like refine my skills, even at like 12 years old.
Yeah, that's amazing. My dad was my guy in the backyard. That's who I couldn't throw a curveball because it hurt my elbow tremendously. Yeah. And so he taught me to throw a knuckleball. So I threw a fastball and a knuckleball, and it worked as a curve and a changeup and everything for me.
Yeah.
And then when I was a kid, listen to this, Brett. When I was a kid, my dad loved baseball. Every night he listened to Pirates on his transistor radio and fall asleep.
Sure.
And he said, when I was a kid, he was one of 15. He was this tough old guy. He said, well, now I'm in Little League. He goes, when you get in there, throw the first one at their head and then throw the next one over the plate. And I'm a little kid. I'm like, okay. I mean, I hit both the Turpak twins. They batted back to back, both in the head. And he's like, "That's all right. That's all right. Just keep throwing it." I was like, "Oh my God!" And then I wondered why I was wild when I got older.
Yeah, yeah. Pitching, throwing curveball. I don't. There's not really a certain age you should start throwing them, but if you don't throw them right, you can definitely hurt your elbow with it. You know what I mean? If you just don't get taught the right way, you can definitely get hurt.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. What other pitches? You probably had big, so you could throw a splitter.
I fooled around with the splitter, but I kind of, in high school, it was just fastball, curveball, changeup. And then when I got to pro ball, it was more sinker, slider, changeup guy. So a different, little lower arm angle. But yeah, for the most part, it was fastball, curveball, changeup.
Now, did you feel the coaching between all three different, obviously you take the next step up in coaching, but from college to the pros, what was the difference in coaching for you? Was it just film? Was it just the knowledge? What was the difference?
Yeah, I think once you leave school, the benefit of pro ball is it's baseball all the time. You don't have to go to class. You don't have to write papers anymore. It's all baseball.
Wait, you went to class and wrote papers?
Yeah, I actually did go to class. Yes. Especially, non-scholarship guy, you better do it. Yeah.
You better go to class.
Yeah. I think watching video definitely helps a lot. I didn't do it really in high school, did a little bit in college, but not really. So once you start watching video, then you're like, oh, wow, that's what that looks like. I can see my arm. I'm late right now, getting the ball out of the glove. You can just see more things. And some organizations are more of all right, we're going with whatever you got. We're not going to really develop you. And some organizations are so analytically driven and so on you about, everyone's got to throw the right way. And I hate to say it, but the Pirates were so mechanical and I like breaking down video, but it's just to the point where they're making everybody throw the same way. It was just and you can see that they don't.
That's what Garrett Cole always said, right?
Right. So look at him, right?
Kyle and all those guys, they always said that.
They have all these dudes in their back pocket, and they can't win with them. They let them go, and they become better elsewhere. There's a fundamental flaw in the Pirates system, So it sucked.
It does suck.
Yeah.
For being
there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it. I don't know why they taught that. It was almost like pitch for contact. Right. Garrett Cole's what are you talking about? And we see him go on and have a career of really what he should have been at the Pirates, and probably wanted to stay here because people love the city. Yeah. And it just, I don't know why they taught like that, but I think we have a new coach now, and I think he's a little bit different. But that's always interesting to me on film, because we would watch everything, practice, the opponents, all of our stuff, old games, old quarterbacks. The way you can break down video now is incredible.
Yeah.
And is baseball pretty much the same now?
It is, I think. So I got out of the game in 2014. So a lot has happened since then with analytics, and scouting reports are different. But normally we would go over the scouting report of just what the guys have done lately. They call it spray chart or whatever, in the last 10 games or something like that, and how to attack guys. But in the minors, you don't really get, no one's really scouting these other teams to help us out. You just kind of show up. Here's what I got. Here's what you got. Let's see what happens, kind of thing.
So if you go into a game like that, what's your first pitch? Do you just fastball every time, or
not every time? But I think it depends on. You always have to go with what you do well, right? Your strength, as they say, good pitching usually beats good hitting. It's just that's how it goes because hitting's hard, and you got guys on defense behind you, so the odds are against the hitter. But you definitely can tell where guys are in the box, and if you have a good catcher who's paying attention, they'll know, is this guy opening his front hip too early? Can we, get in there on him, or do we need to go slider here or whatever? So you kind of just learn based on what the swings are telling you.
So when you get to the big leagues, how many components are there? Is it just you and the catcher? Is it you, the catcher, and the coach looking at all the, you know what I mean? Because the hitters coming up, you've studied them, but there's so many games. I don't know how you remember all this stuff.
So I actually never pitched in the big leagues. I pitched in one big league spring training, so I do have that a little bit of experience, but not a ton. I never got to I got to AAA, so right below the big leagues. But
right. So how does that work though? Even in AAA, there's more coaches, there's more understanding. Sure. You know what I mean? And I always wondered that, because you watch these games, and is it the catcher knowing the batter? Is it the pitcher knowing the batter? Whose responsibility is it more?
I think the older you get and the higher levels you get, AA, AAA, the catchers care more because it's like their staff. So it's almost they take it upon themselves. If you get a good one, and usually the older guys have been around enough, and they take ownership of learning the hitters and knowing knowing where to throw guys. And that's the other thing. Some guys in the minors, you move around so much, you don't get the same catcher all the time. So you really have to have great communication with your catcher and say like this is what I do well. Let me know, what you think in the box, because there's nothing worse than you having to like shake off the catcher. It's the worst. There's no flow. There's no rhythm. It's good to be on the same page with your catcher.
Yeah. Oh, well, you'd have to be, right? Because if he's thinking outside, you're thinking inside, it's going to be a big difference, right? It could be the difference between a strikeout and a home run. There's no doubt about that. Hey, everyone. I want to thank you for listening to Huddle Up with Gus. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. We're talking with Brett Lorin from Too Tall Sports Podcast. Hey, Huddle Up with Gus listeners. Manscaped, they sent me, they hooked me up with a bunch of tools and formulations for their package 3.0 kit. So, I want to show you guys what's in the perfect package, right? We all think we got a perfect package, but they sent me the perfect package 3.0 kit. And I want to show you what they sent me. So it was crazy. It came in this great box, and you can see what it says. They will thank you, because they send us this awesome trimmer. They sent us, stuff that makes you smell better. And then, they sent me this great, some boxers even, which you get, right? Protect them. And then, they sent me this cool sack, I guess you want to call it, to store all your stuff in. So it's been great. Manscaped sent me a bunch of product. You can see it all on here. You can go to manscaped.com and put in the code Gus Frerotte. That's GUSFREROTTE. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use that code. But you can get a kit. You can get individual items like this way cool groomer that has a little LED light, ceramic. These things come apart. They're waterproof. You can do a lot with them. So, Manscaped is great. It's funny. I remember when I was playing with the Denver Broncos, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a gentleman who was playing on our team. And, if he ever hears the story, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he brought his own clippers in one time, and he used it to trim his beard up, his goatee and everything. And he had them there for about 2 or 3 weeks. And he goes in around the corner, he walks in, and there's another player that is actually manscaping with his beard trimmer. So, one of the things is you don't want to use the same trimmer down there that you use up here. So he kind of freaked out a little bit, and he said, "Hey, how long have you been using that tool there?" And he said, "Well, it showed up here about 3 weeks ago, and I've been using it ever since." So, there is a lesson learned that, don't leave things out. And probably if it would have just said Manscaped on it, we wouldn't have had that issue. But it's probably one of the funniest taking care of your balls stories I've ever heard or been around in the locker room in the NFL. So it's a great story. But, I always said there was no way to know. There was no name on it. And the guy was just using it. And another guy was using it. It was not good. But it's a heck of a funny story. So one of the best I've ever heard in my 15 years playing in the league. But, there's so many great things about Manscaped and what they're doing. Because, guys, you got to take care of yourself. Even though I got gray hair and getting older, but you still have to maintain some sort of grooming, right? And so, we all work out for me, I like working in my yard, doing those things now that I'm retired, getting a little sweat on and everything. You want to smell good. You know, you got to take care of yourself. They got some great products. You know, this one, a little ball deodorant. We all need that here and there. After, you know, working in the yard, taking a hike, doing a walk, whatever you do, it's a great thing. But there's so many great products. I want to thank Manscaped for sending them to me. The Lawnmower 3.0, obviously you can use it anywhere in your body, but I'm sure you guys have all seen the commercials. But this is one just letting you know that the Lawnmower 3.0 comes with the perfect kit. You can buy the lawnmower by itself. You can buy all these products individually. They even sent me this wonderful shirt. You can see the back. Your balls will thank you. And then here's the front. So it's an awesome shirt. They have great gear. And you know what? Sometimes you can just sit back, take care of your balls a little bit, and read the paper. So I think Manscaped even has their own daily news, so which is great. So don't forget that you can go to the code Gus Frerotte, and that's GUSFREROTTE, and you can save 20% on any products. The perfect package gift set, and you know, you can save 20% and get free shipping. So use the code Gus Frerotte, GUSFREROTTE. Hey, everybody spells my name wrong. They even spelled it wrong on the back of my Pro Bowl jersey. So, you know, I gotta help you guys out. So don't forget how important it is that you use these products. Take care of yourself down below and have some fun, right? There's nothing closer to you than your little buddies. So use the lawnmower, use the code Gus Frerotte, save 20% and get free shipping, and order some great Manscaped products. Hey everyone, we're back on Huddle Up with Gus. I want to thank Vegas Sports Advantage, so that you know, go there, use my code Huddle Up, and let those guys really figure out the odds for you. Let them figure out who you need to bet on, and let them help you win some money. So Vegas Sports Advantage for that. And we're joined by Brett Lorin today. Brett, we're back. You know, I just think that we've been talking a lot of baseball, and I know you're a big sports fan with everything. And you're probably like me. You try to watch as much as possible on TV. Did you watch the Home Run Derby last night?
I did watch Home Run Derby. I think the big hype was Shohei Ohtani, right, coming in. He's the big draw, and he's basically the modern day Babe Ruth. It's pretty cool to see. Like, no one ever thinks we'd see that because everyone's so against him doing, or people doing that. So it was cool to watch. You know, and Coors Field, obviously the ball flies, so it's a little better there. But no, it was a fun event. What do you think?
You know what I liked about it was that the fans felt like they were really into it. You know, and I don't know if you saw what they did, is that when the players were up, I think they signed their baseballs so that when they hit them out, like the people would catch a signed baseball, which was really cool.
That is really cool.
You know, and baseball is a sport that has to do more things to keep it pumping, keep it going, to keep the engagement and the fans into it. And I thought Coors Field was it was exciting, right?
Yeah.
And I think that just making a big deal, like Ohtani, just making a big deal out of it, people are pumping him up because baseball needs that. We need all those guys to be able to come in there and get the sport to where it needs to be compared to all the other sports. And I thought it was great. It was fun, you know, to see the fans and everyone involved in it. But I just don't get how they can hit it so far when it's not coming in at 95 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think it's just because they're like lifting, right? They're like uppercutting their swings, and they're trying to, and maybe the balls are a little bit different for the home run derby. Who knows?
Yeah, they juice them a little bit.
Yeah,
but I mean, I've taken batting practice before, and it's not like you can. I mean, they're hitting them 500 and some feet. And the ball's not coming in. Like I can see when it's coming in at like 95 to 100. like the velocity coming in, hitting it with the bat, like it's going to travel faster out. But man, those guys were crushing it.
They're so good at making contact, like right on the barrel, that it just goes. Their swings are so good, and that's the difference between the pros and the Joes, right? It's just they're that good.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I'm excited, and we were talking about Ohtani. I think that's like everybody's dream, wouldn't it be? Like that you can pitch, you could play the field, you can hit. Why do you think that is? That more, you being a pitcher, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is that more pitchers can't hit?
Because we don't work on it. When you get to college and the minors, you're really not hitting that often. It's not a priority. And plus, forever, it's just this old stigma that you can't do both. No one's pushed to do both at a high level. So finally, we got a guy that can, and hitting's hard, as you know. So to be able to, the pitching side, a lot of guys can probably throw hard, but not a lot of people can hit like above 250 in the big leagues. So
right.
I think that's the heart. Is like, how can you be great pitching and also be a great major league hitter? That's why you probably just don't see it. But also, like I said, it's been pushed away. Like, you're not supposed to do this until someone does.
Well, you think that if you're a starting pitcher, you'd have way more time to practice hitting, but then you're not hitting live, which is probably way harder than
even the starting pitchers. If you're a National League pitcher, you're only really taking BP maybe the day before you pitch just to get a couple swings in, because you're going to get a couple at bats. But in the other days, you're not hitting BP. You're just shagging balls in the outfield. So you're not working on your craft. That's why.
My favorite ever to watch coming up that was a pitcher to hit was Roberto Colon. He's kind of a, rounder guy, comes up, and I think he hit a home run one game, and it was the whole place went crazy.
Bartolo Colon. Yes.
Bartolo Colon.
Yeah. No, he's still playing somewhere, I think, in like a Mexican league or something like that. He's like 50 years old.
Well, there's some amazing athletes like that. You think of football as like Brady, and he's played forever. Yeah. Right. Hockey, you had like Gordie Howe. Jaromir Jagr played forever. There's some guys like that. And then there's basketball. I think it was Vince Carter just retired, and he played a long, long time. Those guys came out of high school playing. I think it's LeBron's like 16th year or something. And it doesn't feel like that. And then in baseball, I feel like you could play a lot longer in baseball, but it's still got to be hard. Like 100 and that many games every year. I mean,
there aren't that many. You know what's crazy? Over the last 10 to 15 years, like all the older players have phased out. Like these teams don't want to pay the 35 plus guys anymore. Like there's just not that many older. And when I say older, it's like 35 and above, which is not that old. But the game has gone so young. They're just those old veterans that you remember from the 90s and 2000s. They're just not there anymore.
Oh my gosh. My kids and I collect we collect cards, and then we sell them. We buy them, sell them, and we have a certain collection we're trying to get. But I like vintage cards. I like vintage baseball. My dad and I always collect that. And so we'll go through cards, and my sons will be like, how old is this guy? Then you turn the back over, and there's like 20 teams like that he played for. Like, it's not that way anymore. And you're right. No. Like guys could play forever if they could come up and hit. You see those guys that play forever, but now it's not that way.
Yeah, the 20-year career, like the Cal Ripkens, like that just doesn't happen anymore. Like it sucks, because you can't really you can't get attached to these guys as much because they're just not there that long, So it's.
Do you think it's the money too? Like they're not like trying, like they made so much money they don't have to push to like play forever.
Right, exactly. And I don't know what it is. Everyone just got so like hyper focused on the young guys and the league being younger, and they're coming up earlier. They're getting called up. Like you used to have to put your time in the minors unless you're a phenom. But now it's like 21, 22. If you're ready to go, you're up there. It's a different game now.
Yeah, that is crazy because we felt that way in football as you get older as a veteran, right? Your minimum goes way up, and then they're bringing these young guys they can get 3 young guys for 1 veteran, right? And so that was a big difference in football for us. And so we try to figure that out through the collective bargaining agreement to help the veterans, because I always think that you need veterans in the locker room to be any good.
Sure. You do. And yeah, exactly. I think the organizations have just, I don't know if they've gotten smarter, but they're just not willing to pay the legacy contract for these older guys.
Right.
And
it's all guaranteed in baseball. Football, they just cut your ass. Like,
Right.
Like baseball, hey, they can cut you, but they're still paying you like Bobby Bonilla $1 million every year.
Best contract in history.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were saying for the home run derby. Pete Alonso is just he's going to be the next Bobby Bonilla because he's going to win the home run derby every year.
Right. Yeah. Just show up for that and you'll get some exposure and you'll get paid. There you go.
So you have your baseball career. At what point did you say, okay, I really got to start figuring out what my next step is?
When I was about 28, I think, I played my last year. So I played AAA when I was in 2013, and then I got released. And then I decided to play 1 year of independent ball. And I just told myself, if I don't get picked up again, then I'm done. Like I wasn't going to be a baseball lifer. Like there's dudes at late 30s, 40 years old, still playing independent ball. I just never saw myself as that guy. I just didn't need the game as much. And you can't sign yourself. So I had a good year in independent ball and didn't get signed back to the minors. So I was ready to move on. So it's definitely a tough transition. Like I tell people a lot, you spend years building a resume that doesn't really translate to real life. You know, it doesn't help you really, other than life experience and dealing with adversity and all those things. But it doesn't help you in like selling things or, working.
No, business. No. Yeah. You're not learning. You're learning a craft, but you're not learning. Like for me, football, that's what I did. Football and family. Those were my two things. Yeah. And then I didn't really think about like when I was lucky enough to play for 15 years. Right. But I didn't think about, okay, I'm going to be 38 when I'm done. What am I going to do next?
Yeah.
So like if I look back on it, if I wanted to be a coach, I should have like really tried to get to know more coaches or figure that out. Or if I wanted to go into the staff, go into that part, or I should have went back and continued my education, but I didn't do any of that. And so when you're done, they don't let you back in, right? You leave, you're not going back into the business. So you got to figure it out. So tell me about, you left baseball. Yeah. What was the feeling you had and said, this is what I want to try and do?
Yeah, I think, and another thing to your point, when you stop, like right when you stop playing, you don't want to coach. A lot of guys don't, because you're the same age as the guys you just left, and you feel like you're bitter. You should be there still. So coaching right away doesn't feel right. You're just like, I can still play. Everyone thinks that. Right. So that's why I didn't get into coaching right away. It's just because like I don't want to be around the game right now if I'm not playing in it. Right. But that's when I went into franchising. Yeah, right after that. So
tell me about that process.
Yeah, you have to, being a franchisee.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go, like, usually you go meet with them at their headquarters once you get like the initial approval. Then you got to like interview with them, and they got to trust you that you're going to follow the rules and do all the franchisee BS and all that stuff. And then we get approved, and then the real estate team comes out and finds a location for you. Well, unfortunately, so I live in Orange County, which is a great place. Yeah, but the whole area was taken. So I had to go to what's called the Inland Empire, which is like 40 minutes to an hour east, so inland a little bit from the ocean, to another city out there, and that's where they approved me for. So, location means everything, as you probably know, and it's hard. Like I was saying, it's not a dinner time business. So from 11 to 3, you got to make all your money. So it's just tough to have one location and be successful with bringing a new brand to the area. It's not like I built an In-N-Out or a Starbucks, which is like gold. Yeah. It's tough.
Now, what was your decision on that franchise? Was it money? Was it, this is like you met somebody? Like why the franchise that you chose?
I think I'd heard it was coming to California, and I was in the Midwest for some of my career. And if you were close enough to a Jimmy John's, they would deliver sandwiches to your clubhouse. It was great. Right. It was, no one else does this. Yeah. So I was like, oh, people are going to love this in California. Okay. Well, little did I know, you're competing with not just sandwich places, Subway, Jersey Mike's and Firehouse and all these other places. You got all of lunchtime business to compete with. Yeah. So you're just one of many for lunch. The restaurant business is really hard.
Yeah. And so you grew up really fast in the business world.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah. Luckily, my dad's an accountant, so he helped me like financially figure things out with like the labor costs, food costs, all those things. Because you really, the problem with franchising is they're so rigid, and you have to do it their way. And like, they're making us stay open till 9 p.m. Well, who's buying a cold sandwich for dinner and beyond? It just doesn't happen. So you're burning through labor, and you learn a lot about how little control you have in that world. So you're basically paying for the processes and the vendor contracts you get. And there's some perks to having the name and stuff like that, but a lot of it's out of your hands.
So how long were you in that business?
It's about 3.5 years. And then we decided to sell, and we had the rights to a second location. So we packaged those together. And so we got out with no losses, which is nice. We broke even. So it was good, but great experience. But it was definitely, I'm glad I got out.
Was it kind of like buying a boat? The first day and the last day are the best days.
That is 100% right. You know what? It bothered me that we didn't see a second store through. It was the right move to get out, but I wanted to see, like, okay, maybe the first one's not our best store. Let's see if the second one is another great store. And my goal was 5 to 10 stores. Well, you got to pay a franchise fee every time you buy one, and it's just, you got to be in 3 places at once. It's a tough gig to run a franchise.
Yeah, especially like you said, there's a lot of competition now.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not like I'm sure there's East Coast brands that you grew up with that everybody knows, or like a Dunkin' Donuts, for instance, out there.
Yeah,
right? Right. It's everywhere. So that's like a staple in your community. When you bring in a new brand that no one's heard of, the first year is just like educating people on what you are. And then you can start to build the fan base, so
right.
That's the hard part too.
So then when did you sell your franchises, you say, okay, I'm done. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you get the itch again. What are you doing next?
So the last 4 years I've been doing solar panel sales, so residential and commercial solar sales. So I like it. It makes sense, especially out here. Electricity is so expensive. So I've been doing that. But, during the pandemic, I started the podcast. So that's really what I'm trying to focus on and hopefully turn it into sports media somehow, or, some kind of podcasting career maybe, or broadcasting radio. But I think that's really my calling is what I'd like to do.
Yeah. So selling solar panels, do you go to conferences? Are you the guy in the booth and you got your solar panel there and you say, all right, I'm going to come to your home and put these up. You're going to save a lot of money.
Yeah. I spent some time, one of the companies I was with that had a partnership with Costco. So early in my career, I would stand in Costco in the booth and be like, hey, do you want a free solar consultation? I was that guy for a little bit. It was humbling, to say the least.
Oh yeah. I've been there. I've helped companies like we talked about. I was with RC21X. I'd go around and trying to sell that stuff. And it's hard to be a salesman when you never did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you didn't learn how to do any of that. And then, salespeople are good at not listening to the word no.
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody says no, and I'm like, oh, okay. Just move on. You know what I mean? You can't do that as a salesman.
It's hard. And it's just like even when it makes sense, you really have to get people to believe it also. And it's not like I'm selling vacuums. Like it's a real thing that can help. So it's just, especially out here. So it's just getting people to sit down with you, laying it all out, how like ridiculous the electric companies are and how much control they have. Then they're like, oh, it does make sense. So it's just getting to that point. But yeah, any type of sales, outside sales is really hard.
Well, and like here, it's not like we don't get sun. Obviously, Pittsburgh is kind of, we get a lot of clouds, but I mean, the solars would work. It's just that we're competing with miners and, all these other ways of producing energy, and solar is available every day. And they're like, oh, what if the sun doesn't come out? I'm like, well, that's why you have battery storage. You know what I mean? Like, and you can actually make money if you have solar and all these things. But it's just crazy. Like the last 6 years or so taught us political wise of trying to get some of that stuff in.
Yeah. And there's tax credits if you want to buy it. And there, even if you lease it, everyone's scared of leasing it. It's, basically we're buying the system for you and taking care of it for 25 years. And you just pay us monthly to use it at a reduced rate. So any type of solar is better than no solar. That's what I usually tell people, because the electric company, like, you didn't get to choose it when you moved in your house. You just get what you get, and they charge you whatever they want. So you just have to pay it. You have to buy power forever. So that's why I try to,
Yeah, my wife and I, we signed up for like the green energy, right? Like, but so your electric company still charges you their amount, and then you have to pay the green amount on top of that. So I'm paying like more than, the green energy is supposed to be cheaper. Well, it is, but our electric company who's delivering the power is still charging you more. So we've always talked about we need to get solar. We need to to get on board.
Obviously, the weather's a little different where you're at, right? You don't get as many sun days, whatever, and you get snow and all that, I'm sure. So it's a little different there. But even when it's not direct sunlight, just being light out, you still produce some power. So
I mean, the panels are definitely way different today than they were 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, they're much better now. The technology is much better. They're still big, like they're still bulky on your roof, but I don't know. If you're going to be there for a long time, who cares what your roof looks like?
All right. So when you're selling a solar panel, do you get this question? Which one do they ask you more? Did you play baseball or did you play basketball?
I always get, did you play basketball? And in life, I get that at least, and I don't say every week, but a lot. I get that. Usually it's the how tall are you? Then it's like, okay, here we go. Now I got to go down this road. It's like, are you sure you didn't play volleyball? Are you sure you weren't a swimmer? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I played baseball. Well, why'd you do that? It's a never ending conversation.
So who's the shortest person you've had on your podcast?
It's hard to tell because it's all on Zoom. So everybody's tall to me.
Maybe that should like in the video on the side. You should put like Muggsy Bogues 5'5", right? like that's too tall podcast. That'd be great. Yeah, no, but that's the question you get. Like even me as a big guy, 6'4", I'm over 250, and it's just like, oh, you had to play sports. Like, what position did you play?
Right.
Then you got to go down the whole road. I can imagine what you get.
It definitely happens a lot. And it's, go ahead.
Have you ever made up like, I played basketball. I played for the, I played for the Clippers a couple of years and
I played overseas. That's the easy one. They'll never know.
Yeah. I'm the one who invented the Euro step.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it just, it just depends. Like people just want their questions answered. It's fine. Like I usually tell people I used to be somebody. So that's what I say. See this up here? That's a long time ago. I used to do what I did. So what do you enjoy about podcasting now? I think I like reconnecting with former teammates, coaches, and just people that I've met throughout my career, and also like getting cool stories out of people that, like especially in the minors. It's such a mysterious career. You don't see these guys till they make it to the big leagues, and nobody, unless you lived it, it's impossible to know what the lifestyle is like. So when I get a baseball player on, it's cool to get the story of like, wow, really no job security. You're going from city to city. You don't know where you're going to be next year, making the team out of spring training, like just the bus trips. And
you're not flying first class, right?
No, you're not. You're not even taking flights till AAA. So even in AA, these are some of the best players in the country and the world. You're not even flying yet. So
at least it's better than a Greyhound, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit better now. But even like big guys like us sitting on a bus overnight, 8-hour trip, and you're expected to perform the next day. You got to be good every day. So.
Yeah, there's no way to sleep like that. Like when you're scrunched in a seat, even though you want to, and then the next day you're like, man, I just don't feel good. Like I believe me, I know.
And you better feel good because you got to perform. You
have to perform.
And if you don't, the next class of draft picks is coming up. It's a constant battle, and that's why you have to. There's so many outside factors. You just have to kind of be like, control what you can control, and that's it.
So playing baseball, being your love, how much do you follow it? Do you follow like college players? Do you follow any of that? Or are you just kind of a fan of a team?
I grew up a Dodger fan, so I do follow them. Not as it's hard to, like, even as a former baseball player, it's hard to watch a baseball game for 3+ hours and just sit down and watch every pitch. During the playoffs, I'll do that. I will watch the games, but 162, I'm not going to watch every inning of every game. So I just watch the highlights, just follow. Some games I'll watch if they're nationally televised, but it's hard to watch a baseball game.
It is. So what, in your opinion, what do you think they could do to make it better?
I think they could shorten it. Maybe 7-inning games. I think that'd be better. Maybe, they're not going to do this because there's too much money involved, but maybe 100 games, make the regular season matter a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's not enough action during the game. Like I'm sure you've seen, they're not stealing bases as much. They're not doing hit and runs. They're not manufacturing runs. They're not moving guys over. It's just not the same action as it used to be. It's a lot of homers, strikeouts, and walks. That's just pretty much what it is.
And we know with esports and everything, kids today are all about actions per minute, right? Yeah. They're all about that. man, it just keeps going, right? That's why they can play esports all night.
Right.
And, but it's different than golf. You know what I mean? Like golf's not a lot of actions per minute either.
Right.
But I think they can switch to a lot of different players. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas baseball, you're watching one game. That's why when I watch baseball games, I try to watch 2 or 3. So you're always flipping back and forth to watch.
Always a pitch happening somewhere.
Somewhere. But I think the true baseball people, I've interviewed some people that have written books on baseball, that are out of New York and things. And these true baseball guys, they still love to watch the game for the data and the analytics. And they can sit there and watch it because they love it so much. Where I think a lot of fans are more like you said, we got to do something to get this moving.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, the purists that you're talking about, right? The baseball is always the last to change. So even with instant replay, like they're always the last to adapt to current society, right? When you got stars in basketball, even football, it just moves. And football, like college football, that's a long game. But there is enough action that you can watch, especially the ranked teams where it's like, all right, I can pay attention to this, or the bowl games and stuff like that. But baseball, it's just there's not enough happening per game to watch every second.
So growing up, did you have anybody you grew up with that played professional sports as well?
I had one buddy that made it up to the big leagues with the Rangers, but I actually played, you'll know this name, high school baseball against Mark Sanchez because he played baseball and football, and I think he played basketball for a little bit. So he in his high school was ridiculous, and they stomped us, but he was in our league. So I played against Mark Sanchez in baseball. Yeah,
and you didn't know who he was until he probably went to USC.
When he was in high school, though, I mean, that they were throwing the ball all like he was like we knew in high school he was good. He was going to USC when Pete Carroll was still there, a powerhouse. Yeah. So, his high school was really good at football. So I thought he could be something definitely down the road.
Do you think if you grew up today, you would be a different pitcher?
I think so, because there's so much more emphasis on throwing versus pitching. So I think I probably would have thrown harder just based on the technology that's available now, like spin rate. Like even when I stopped playing in 2014, no one was talking about spin rate. Like that just came up in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So it's a different game now. Maybe if I would have committed to baseball only forever, I would have played in every showcase tournament, every college summer league. Yeah, maybe. But I'm glad. I'm still happy I played basketball because I think I would have regretted not playing.
Yeah, I think when kids are young, and like you said, if you don't play multiple sports, you get burned out really easy.
For sure, especially baseball. That's why these kids are getting hurt too. These travel ball kids, they're playing 100+ games a year, and especially for pitching, there's no way your arm can handle that.
You just don't get the athleticism that comes with other sports. Like basketball is going to give you a lot of different athleticism and see the court different, see the field different, side to side jumping. Baseball, you don't get a lot of, like as a pitcher, like, all right, I'm going to go run and loosen up. I got to be kind of in shape, but you know what I mean? It's not like basketball shape.
Right. And I don't even like soccer, but I played it as a kid and I think it helped. I think just the mobility and just learning how to cut and pivot and do stuff like that. I think just the footwork aspect, playing a lot of sports when you're younger definitely helps your athleticism.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So who's coming up next on your podcast?
Let's see. I got the former assistant coach that I had at Long Beach State. He's the Nevada Wolfpack baseball coach. They just went to the tournament, so I got him coming on. One former big leaguer who I played actually with the Pirates for a little bit, Chase Darnell.
Okay, yeah, great.
Infielder.
Yeah.
His brother's on the Braves. He's a catcher, was with the Mets for a little while. Travis Darno. So yeah, I got a couple decent guys coming on, but yeah, I'm trying to do more of my opinions I've on the show as well. So I'm trying to mix those in also, because there's just every week there's something that happens in sports. So I want to react to that kind of stuff more often.
Oh yeah. Just like, I try to, I'm like you. So you never know where a show's going to go. You never know what a podcast is going to turn into. And the more knowledge you have about different sports, but I can't sit there and watch all of them. It's like I catch all of them up on my phone, like, soccer, Italy and England, you catch all that stuff up. And then the Olympics are coming up. So you're trying to stay on top of it all, but not have go into the weeds with it all.
Right. You want to give a general opinion about the big topics, but not so much where people just get uninterested,
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right. So Brett, tell all of our fans how they can find you and maybe your website where they can follow you.
Yeah. So everything on Instagram, it's at Too Tall Sports Podcast. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. I'm on all the platforms, YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. You'll find all my stuff there. But my social media is where I put out. I'm starting to do more content on there and more videos and stuff like that. So anywhere you can just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. And if they want to buy a solar panel, how do they get you?
Send me a DM on there, and I might be able to help you out of state. But if you're in California listening, I can definitely help you out. So, if anyone's interested in solar, it's obviously hot time of the year right now. Your bills are probably high, so it makes sense. So,
it's real hot. Like in the West, it's crazy hot. Like have you noticed that? Like it's way hotter than normal out there?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's ridiculous right now, especially different. I don't know. What's it like for you right now?
Oh, we've had like so much rain every day in the 80s. It's been crazy, but I mean, it's not like that. Like we've had a lot of rain. It's been pretty nice where, usually July in Pittsburgh is really dry, and this year's way different.
Love that humidity on the East Coast sometimes.
Oh man, you just walk outside and you start sweating. For us fat guys, it's not fun at all.
I hear you, man.
Yeah. So no, Brett, I appreciate you coming on and joining me. I had a blast doing your show, and I hope you had fun today. And I'll let you know when this comes out. And our super producer Brian will put it all together and make me sound better, way better than I am. But I appreciate you joining me on Huddle Up with Gus today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be on the show. Thank you again for being on mine, and thanks to Brian and Terry and everybody. I appreciate you guys. So thanks. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. All right, everyone. That's our show for today. We appreciate Brett coming on and sharing his story. I want to thank all of our people, Brian and Terry especially. We want to thank 1631 Digital News for having us in their studio. Obviously, this isn't the studio, but they host us, and we appreciate that. And we want to thank Sounder FM and Vegas Sports Advantage. Go to Vegas Sports Advantage, put my code in, Huddle Up, and hopefully you can win some cash. So, I appreciate Brett coming on. It's always fun to hear new people's stories. And, it was a great transition that he told us about. When you're done playing sports, you're done. And sometimes it's really hard to make that transition. And Brett did a great job with it, and he's still doing it just like I am. So we're both podcasting now, and hopefully you enjoy it. So make sure you listen to his podcast, Too Tall Sports Podcast, and also check out Huddle Up with Gus. And we appreciate you listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap, sports fans. Thanks for joining in the fun at the 1631 Digital Studios for another action-packed Huddle Up with Gus, featuring 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Huddle Up with Gus is proudly produced by 1631 Digital Media and is available on Apple Music.